Texas women's basketball season has finally come to an end after a Final Four loss to runner-up South Carolina. Texas baseball has another monumental conference series victory, sweeping number 3 Georgia at the Disch, and we look ahead at the 2025 Masters and potential impact performers. All this and more on College Press Box. Good evening and welcome back to College Press Box. I'm Zach Davis, hosting with Perla Paredes tonight. Before we get started, we want to remind you that College Press Box is brought to you by Cap Metro, Austin's transit system. We connect you to work, school, play, and everywhere in between. Plan your ride to this weekend's games at capmetro.org. Well, this past Saturday, the magic finally ran out in the illustrious season of Texas women's basketball in a disappointing loss to Dawn Staley's South Carolina Gamecocks. Let's see how the game went. Welcome to Tampa, Florida, where the Final Four is being had for the Texas Longhorns for the first time in 22 years, and they take on South Carolina, their 4th meeting of the season, 2-1 on the series so far. Game started off well for Texas, jumping out to a 12-4 lead. South Carolina does what they do, though, and gets it back 19-18 going into the second quarter, and this is where it was back and forth. 8 lead changes in the second quarter going both ways. Vic Schaefer got to drill it down. We see Jordan Lee here, who had 3 3-pointers in this game, the freshman standout. I know it was a loss for Texas, but they are in set for a good future. That's another 3 for South Carolina. This lead was big in the third quarter, and it was hard to come back. A 20-9 third quarter for the South Carolina Gamecocks. Pulled ahead in this one. Got the ball moving around. Laura Kitts with the shot. That one falls, and that was pretty much the whole theme with the third quarter. South Carolina would pull ahead. It was too much damage to get done. Texas falls to 35-4, but what a great campaign for the Longhorns. They went to their first Final Four, like I said, in 22 years. 35 wins for the first time since 1982. South Carolina gets a chance to win their 3rd straight title against the UConn Huskies. Vic Schaefer goes home 1 game too early. Madison Booker, not her best night, had some foul trouble. But you know, the reigning Cheryl Miller Small Forward of the Year will be back. And that wraps up an illustrious campaign for Vic Schaefer's Texas Longhorns. What a season for Vic. 30-plus wins, a share of the conference regular season title in the first year in the conference, and of course, a Final Four berth. For more, let's go for the first time to Perla to help break down more from Texas's loss. Perla?
Thanks, Zach. I'm with Abby Saenz, back to talk more about Texas women's basketball. Well, again, Abby.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here, although I'm sad to learn that the Longhorns' road to the national championship has come to an end.
Yes, it was indeed sad, but it was satisfying to see that Paige Becker's national championship. Okay, but let's get started. What went well for the Longhorns on Saturday despite coming up short against South Carolina?
Yeah, absolutely. So Texas had a great start to the game in the first half. During the first quarter, Madison Booker was doing what she does best, and they don't call her mid-range Maddie for nothing. Booker was 3 for 3 with her jumper, and Rory Harmon was getting some good looks from the mid-range as well, both scoring 10 out of Texas's 19 points during the first, when Antondo was taking care of the paint as she had 1 block, 1 steal, and 4 points. Texas only trailed South Carolina by 1 entering the second quarter, and the Longhorns' momentum didn't stop there. Your favorite freshman duo, Brianna Preston and Jordan Lee, scored Texas's first 11 points during the second. Harmon and Shea Hawley were working hard defensively, each having a steal. The Longhorns, still not far behind, were down 3 going into the third. And this is where we started to see the spark fizzle out. Texas had shot 50% during the first and second quarter, but that declined to 28% during the third. Booker and Harmon scored in the mid-range, and Lee scored behind the arc, but it was not enough to stop South Carolina's 11-point run. The Gamecocks outscored the Longhorns by 11 during the third, with their lead extending by 14 points entering the fourth. Struggling to come back from this deficit, Texas did not give up. Lee scored behind the arc at the beginning of the fourth, gaining some hope, but South Carolina then went on having a 6-point run. Texas struggled to get their shots to fall and stop the Gamecocks' field goals behind the arc, mid-range, and within the paint. For the 3rd time this season, South Carolina took home this win with a score of 57-74 in Tampa. Jordan Lee was a key player for Texas during this game, scoring 16 points, 1 block, and 1 steal. To end off the season on a high note, Madison Booker was awarded the Cheryl Miller Small Forward of the Year for the second year in a row. So I know the Longhorns will pick up right where they left off next season.
Yes, indeed. This was the fourth matchup between Texas and South Carolina this season. So where did South Carolina dominate most on the floor as we've seen this season?
Absolutely. So South Carolina has been a top team in the nation all season. There is a reason why the Gamecocks were also ranked as a number 1 seed. Ending off the game with a 50.9 field goal percentage is pretty good. The Gamecocks also held the Longhorns for a combined total of 22 points during the second half, outscoring Texas by 14. Defensively, the Bigs got it done with protecting the paint, and their speed was able to create steals and turnovers. South Carolina played calm and collected the entire game, not getting frazzled. These aspects were not only shown during this game, but the last 3 matchups games as well. Once a team gains momentum, it's hard for the opponent to get it back, and that's exactly what the Gamecocks did.
Yes, so what did you think? What does the future look like for this program in your opinion as we've seen this whole season?
That's a great question, Perla. Texas is losing some amazing seniors such as Rory Harmon, Lila Filia, Shea Holly, Aaliyah Moore, and Taylor Jones. These seniors helped build the program that you see today. The Longhorns had not been to a Final Four since 2003, and these seniors helped lead this team exactly there. I have no doubt that their leadership will forever remain with the rest of the team that will be returning next season. With that said, if the team were to stay the same, the Preston Lee duo will be back, as well as our National Small Forward of the Year, Madison Booker. I know we would love to see Kyla Oldacre go coast to coast again and see Wyndon Tonda gain that confidence from the Illinois game as SEC champs. Now, leaving the season as SEC champs, a historic winning record of 35-4 and a trip to the Final Four, I would say the future is looking bright for the Texas team.
Yes, that's good to hear. Thanks, Abby, for joining us again. Back to you at the desk, Zach.
Solid work, Abby. When College Press Box returns, Texas baseball had a disappointing midweek loss to the Texas State Bobcats last week, but bounced back against the visiting number 3 Georgia Bulldogs. We'll talk more about the series when we come back. Don't go anywhere.
Welcome back to College Press Box. Last Tuesday, Texas baseball was stunned, losing for the 4th straight season to the Texas State Bobcats. However, Coach Schwarzenegger team rebounded resoundingly against the mighty foe with the visiting number 3 Georgia Bulldogs this weekend. Along with myself, Ryan Hopper, we cover the series. Take a look.
It was another series win here at Disch Field for the Texas Longhorns as they came back from a 4-run deficit to beat the Georgia Bulldogs 7-4. Texas struggled at the Disch today, missing 2 of their best hitters, third baseman Adrian Rodriguez and right fielder Max Ballou, and they were no hit through 4 1/3 innings, but the Longhorns were still able to rally. Why? Mainly because of star shortstop Jalen Flores, who delivered a clutch 2 RBI double in the 7th inning to give Texas a 6-4 lead. They would tack on a sac fly later to make it 7-4. After the game, Jalen Flores talked about the resiliency of this Texas ball club.
Injuries happen, players go down, but it's the next guy up, and each guy's got to do their job. So we're not really filling a hole, so it's just doing your job, playing for the team, playing to win.
I'm Ryan Hopper for TSTV Sports.
Let me take you back to the highlight of this weekend at Disch Field. It was Texas versus Georgia at the bottom of the 10th. 3 balls, 1 strike, and 1 walk-up home run for Ryan Galvan to secure the sweep for the Longhorns against the Bulldogs to give their overall conference record 11-1 in the SEC. Galvan was 0 for 3 at the plate coming into extra innings, but he was able to put himself in a good hitter's count by laying off breaking balls. Dylan Valantis was also crucial for the win, and he made the best of his moment, but missed his teammates.
It was unfortunate. Actually, the one time I went to the bathroom, right when I got in the bathroom, I heard loud cheering. Kind of blacked out a little bit, looked over at the dugout, and everybody was going crazy. That's what I enjoyed the most. Just run out, and I see Galvan running second base, and I knew it. Was he?
He kept taking
Are you serious?
He just told us.
Wow.
He didn't see it.
well, he'll have to live with that, not me. So it was very unfortunate, but it was super cool.
Volantis relied mostly on a devastating curveball that kept the Bulldogs guessing. The lefty lowered his astounding ERA to .95 after allowing just a single earned run in his last 10 outings. He came in relief of Ruger Riojas, who held the visitors to 3 runs on as many hits. He pitched into the 7th and gave up a homer to Nolan McCarthy, tying the game 3-3 with the Longhorns runs coming in regulation via Jalen Forrest's 2-run shot and Jockey Stewart's RBI single. Volantis came out of the bullpen to keep Georgia at bay, and he allowed just 2 Bulldogs to reach base on 4 innings, striking out 8. Gavon praised his composure.
I've never seen a freshman like that come in and just really the moment not be too big for him.
That is, of course, unless nature calls at a certain moment. Reporting for TSTV Sports, I'm Perla Paredes. A great series victory for Coach Lodge and crew again. For more analysis, let's go to Zach with a special guest.
Thanks, Perla. I'm with Grabiel Silva to talk more about this special Texas team. Welcome back to the show, Grabiel.
Thanks for having me on, Zach. I cannot wait to talk about this special team on the other side of I-35.
Well, this past weekend, Texas baseball had another top 5 opponent come into town, Georgia Bulldogs. How did this weekend go for the Horns?
Well, Zach, it was another great weekend of baseball at the Disch. After losing to Texas State last Tuesday, like we mentioned earlier, the Longhorns were ready to reset and take on the number 3 ranked Georgia Bulldogs. On Friday, the Longhorns looked to Jared Spencer to try and keep the explosive Georgia offense at bay, and he did just that. He went 7 2/3 innings with 11 strikeouts and only gave up two hits and surrendered 1 run on the day. He then gave way to the talented freshman Dylan Volantis, who closed out the game for the Horns. On offense, it was a pair of 2-run home runs from Casey Borba and Will Gasparino in the 4th and 5th innings to give the Longhorns a 5-1 win on Friday night. Now, Texas was looking to win the series on Saturday. Luke Harrison took the mound for the Longhorns on Saturday, and he went 5 2/3 innings, but he got hit around a little bit. He gave up 6 hits, gave up 4 runs, but he did strike out 9 and only gave up 1 walk. But this team didn't show any quit in them. They were down 4-0 and were getting no hit until Jaquay Stewart launched a 2-run home run to give Texas some late life and cut the lead in half. Then in the 7th inning, veteran shortstop Jalen Flores hit a double off the wall to tie the game up at 4 and sparked a 5-run 7th inning to give the Longhorns a 7-4 lead. And then reliever Max Grubbs shut down the Georgia offense to give Texas the series win, and a huge comeback win against the number 3 team in the nation. On Sunday, Zach, the Longhorns were looking for the sweep. Again, Coach Schlossnagle went with Ruger Riojas on the mound on Sunday. Ruger wasn't in complete control like he was last weekend against Missouri, where he went 7 innings. And on Sunday, he gave up 3 runs and 3 hits, along with 4 walks, but he did strike out 7. The Texas offense was able to stay with the Georgia Bulldogs throughout the game, with both teams trading game-tying or leading home runs. The game went into extras, where again, freshman phenom Dylan Volantis was nails in the back half of the game. He went 4 innings of shutout baseball, and it gave Texas a chance to win the ball game in the 10th inning. And in that 10th inning, that's when Rylan Galvan launched a deep fly ball to right center field to give Texas a 4-3 walk-off victory on Sunday to sweep the Georgia Bulldogs. With an electric win on Sunday, the Longhorns moved to sole possession of first place in the SEC, and now they find themselves as the number 2 team in the nation, highlighting a huge turnaround for Coach Schloss and his squad in year 1.
You know, coming from Texas State, that loss, and then going into the streak of wins, especially hosting Georgia and getting the sweep out, I'm just wondering, what were the keys to success this past weekend?
Yeah, well, the offense was still able to produce, even with the absence of guys like Max Ballou and Adrian Rodriguez. They still scored runs in bunches and still hit plenty of home runs, even with the cold front from this past weekend that had the wind blowing in from left field. But the biggest thing that led to success for this team was the outstanding pitching staff. Coach Max Wiener's social media handle is The Arm Farm, and he has lived up to that by churning out a completely new pitching staff in year 1. Texas only used 5 different pitchers all weekend long and used 2 pitchers each game: Jared Spencer, Luke Harrison, Max Grubbs, Ruger Riojas, and Dylan Volantis absolutely shut down a Georgia offense that was averaging over 10.5 runs per game, and they only gave up 8 runs total the whole weekend. Dylan Volantis was named SEC Freshman of the Week. 6'6", 212-pound pitcher appeared twice this weekend, earning a save and a win against number 3 Georgia to help the Longhorns secure their first sweep over a top 3 team in more than 6 years. Across his 2 outings, Volantis tallied 9 strikeouts over 5 1/3 scoreless innings against college baseball's second most prolific offense. On Friday, he recorded the final 4 outs on only 8 pitches to register his 7th save and locked down the 5-1 series opening victory. Then on Sunday, Volantis retired 12 of the 14 batters he faced to set the stage for the Longhorns' 4-3 walk-off win. Volantis tallied a career-high 8 strikeouts in 4 shutout innings, giving up only 1 hit. Also, Volantis has remarkably not allowed a run in 13 1/3 innings. After speculation that the pitching staff might not be able to hold Georgia at bay, they did just that, and they proved that they can play against almost anybody in the nation.
What do you think the rest of the season looks like for this team? I mean, it's been plenty of direction, but now they're ahead in the SEC. I mean, it's their first time in the conference, and they're doing very well. What is going to happen in the future? What can we expect?
Yeah, well, they have few ranked matchups, left in conference play. The SEC is a different breed when it comes to baseball, and at the end of the season will be no different for the Longhorns. Texas will travel to Lexington later this week to take on the Kentucky Wildcats. They still have 5 SEC series left in the season, and after taking on Kentucky, the Longhorns will take on Auburn, Texas A&M, Arkansas, Florida, and Oklahoma. Auburn and Oklahoma are currently ranked, and Texas A&M just blew the doors off number 1 Tennessee, as they still have some time to try to figure things out, especially with the end of the season coming up. The Arkansas series could possibly end up being a 1-2 matchup in Fayetteville, and that could be a massive series for the Horns as they try to win the SEC in their first season in the conference. I still believe that this team's ceiling is Omaha, but now that it's starting to grow with each and every series win, this team is a legit national title contender. I'll put it on the record to say that. And I believe that they have the capabilities to dogpile at the end of the year.
It's very interesting. It's just all the sports this year in the SEC. Texas football got a share of it. Texas women's basketball got a share of it. Now, Texas baseball has the opportunity. Thanks for joining again, Grabiel. Back to you, Perla.
Thank you, Zach and Grabiel. When College Press Box returns, we'll talk about the granddaddy of them all, the Masters, set to be played until this week, who are still some names to look out for. We'll tee off when we come back. We'll see you there.
Welcome back to College Press Box, one of the best events in sports. The pinnacle of golf, the Masters, returns this week, set to crown another pro in the green jacket. With number 1 Scotty Scheffler aiming to earn his 3rd Masters in 4 years. Can anyone challenge the former Longhorn? Let's send it back to Perla.
Thanks again, Zach. I'm with Nolan Clay to talk more about the Masters. Welcome back to College Press Box.
Yeah, I'm super excited to talk about the Masters. It's the best week in golf, and yeah, I'm just super excited to analyze it.
Yeah, good to have you. Let's get started here. Where is the Masters played? What does the course look like, and what kind of players does it favor the most, in your opinion?
Yeah, the Masters is so unique because it's the only major championship in golf that is played at the same course every single year. That course is Augusta National Golf Club in Augusta, Georgia. You might think that playing the same track every year would get boring for players and fans, but Augusta National isn't just any golf course. It's so beautiful that it looks made up, and it's one that also presents a challenge that you can't find anywhere else in the world. What makes it such a unique test? Augusta is a long course with wide fairways, short rough, trees and hills everywhere, and the slopiest greens you'll ever see, letting players approach it in such a creative way. At Augusta, you can't just play normal golf. You have to be an artist at all times. What I look forward to most when predicting a Masters champion, I look at 2 things. How good is your iron play, and are you good around the greens? The reason for that is because, like I said earlier, Augusta has the craziest greens we see on tour all year, and you have to be so precise hitting and chipping into the small pockets we see on them. Another thing to possibly look at when predicting a champion is if a player can consistently hit a right to left shot off the tee. Augusta is known to favor players who can hit that type of shot, as many of the holes require them to find the fairway. The right to left shot is much easier for left-handed players than right-handed players, which is why many people say Augusta is a lefty's paradise, and it's why I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a player like Phil Mickelson be closer to the top of the leaderboard. Overall, I think Augusta is a course that many different types of players can win at, but you have to be on your A game or else it will eat you up.
Yeah, so now that we know what the course is like, which players are you pinpointing as contenders this week?
Yeah, I would be crazy if the first player I didn't mention wasn't Rory McIlroy. Rory is ranked number 2 in the world behind Scottie Scheffler, but in 2025, he's been by far the best player in the world. He's first on the PGA Tour in scoring average this season and strokes gained, and has backed that up with wins at 2 of the biggest events of the year, the Pebble Beach Pro-Am and the Players Championship. If there was ever a year for Rory to finally win a green jacket and complete the career Grand Slam, it's this year. Next, I have to talk about the aforementioned number 1 player in the world and Texas Longhorn Scottie Scheffler. He hasn't picked up a win yet this year, but he's still as consistent as ever, ranking 3rd on tour in scoring average. He's also been unbelievable around the greens this season, ranking 3rd in scrambling on tour, which bodes extremely well for Augusta. Could he get a 3rd green jacket in just 4 years? I wouldn't have bet against him at all. At number 4 in the world and playing some really good golf at the moment is Collin Morikawa. Collin hasn't won since the Zozo Championship in late 2022, but he's hitting the ball so well right now, and it's only a matter of time before that slump ends. The 2-time major champion is 2nd in strokes gained total this season and number 1 in strokes gained approach to the green, which again is very good for Augusta National. He has to overcome some demons he faced in the final round recently, but Collin is playing as good as golf as anyone right now. For the last player to mention, I'm throwing a wild card out there. Jordan Spieth, another Texas Longhorn and the number 66 ranked player in the world, has some of the best course history of Augusta National as anyone. He has the best scoring average at the course ever and has 6 top 5 finishes in his 11 appearances at the Masters. He's coming off an injury, but is starting to find a little bit of form, and you know he'll be very hungry after missing the cut last season, so don't count out the 2015 Masters champ.
Yeah, so finally I have to ask you, Nolan, who will win the 2025 Masters and capture a prestigious green jacket?
Yeah, it feels like it has to be Rory's year, right? I mean, his career at the Masters has been full of massive expectations, amazing moments, and unfortunately a lot of sad moments that have so far outweighed the good ones. But he has a chance to erase all those demons with a win this week in Augusta. And with the way he's playing, this is probably the best chance he's ever going to get again. The only thing that worries me about Rory is his mental state going into the tournament. He knows that the spotlight is on him. He knows the history of this. He knows the history he has at this golf course, and he knows that this has to be the year for him. And for a golfer who hasn't won a major championship since 2014, that is so much pressure to handle. That's why I just can't fully get on board with the Rory McIlroy triumph this week. So who am I going to go with? You can call me a homer. You can call me biased all you want. And honestly, I've heard a lot of homerism on TSTV Sports lately. Jordan Spieth is winning the Masters. Yes, you heard that right. I think we are due for a surprise winner at Augusta National. And what better player to do that than the magician that is Jordan Spieth. He's had a love-hate relationship with this course over the last few years. But the truth is, Augusta National is a Jordan Spieth playground. And I've seen enough of him coming off the wrist injury to believe that he still has what it takes to be one of the best golfers in the world. So that's who I'm riding with. The Golden Child will rise once again at the hallowed grounds of Augusta and announce to the world that he is back.
Yeah, well, thanks again, Nolan. And we certainly look forward to watching one of the best tournaments in sports. Back to you at the desk, Zach.
Can't wait indeed, and I would be happy, Nolan, if Jordan Spieth won, the former Longhorn. When we return to College Press Box, we'll take a look at this past week in Longhorn sports and see what's ahead. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Welcome back to College Press Box. Let's take a look at this past week in Longhorn sports. Men's tennis wins outright SEC regular season number 5 Number 5 Texas men's tennis claimed the outright Southeastern Conference regular season championship, taking down number 13 Texas A&M on Saturday to do so. The Longhorns win the SEC in their first year in the conference, and it also marks their 5th time in the last 6 seasons they have won at least a share of the regular season conference title.
Sophomore Tegan Cavan etched her name into Texas softball history with a no-hitter in the Longhorns' 8-5 5-inning win at Missouri on Saturday. The 57th no-hitter in program history, Cavan's performance was the first by Texas pitchers since May 2024. Over 77 pitches, Cavan struck out 11 Missouri batters with 2 flyouts, 2 groundouts, and no walks and no hit batters. The only 2 Tiger base runners came via infield errors, and Texas offense provided early support with 4 first-inning runs, highlighted by a 3-run home run from Jolie Mitchell.
Number 8 Texas Beach Volleyball went undefeated at the Florida State University Unconquered Invitational, securing wins against number 10 LSU and number 15 FAU in the process. The Longhorns have now taken down 3 conference opponents to move to 3-1 in the CCSA and 22-8 overall for the 2025 season. The Longhorns now head back home for the Lone Star Invitational on April 18th and 19th, where they will host Southern Mississippi, North Florida, and Cal Poly. Now, let's take a look at this week in Longhorn sports. On Wednesday, April 9th, softball home against Texas State, 6 p.m. on SEC Network. A couple days later, Friday, 4/11, we have a doubleheader. Baseball at Kentucky, 5:30 p.m. SEC Network Plus. Then just walk 5 minutes over to the Macomb Field. Softball home against Tennessee, 8 p.m. That's on ESPNU. The next day, Saturday, 4/12, another doubleheader. We have baseball at Kentucky, 11 a.m. on SEC Network, and softball for Tennessee, 5 p.m. on Tennessee. And I want to say baseball at Kentucky, 5:30 p.m. on Friday is SEC Network Plus, not SEC Network. Rounding out the weekend on Sunday, baseball at Kentucky, 11 a.m. again, SEC Network. And an hour later, if you want to catch the last couple innings of softball, the Tennessee series will close out at the Macomb Field, SEC Network Plus.
And that will conclude this week's edition of College Press Box and our last standing edition of the show for this 2024 and 2025 school year. Next week, we'll return to honor our hardworking TSTV sports seniors, and it will be a live 24/7 stream on Monday. You won't want to miss it. As always, please make sure to tune in our other sports this week, including College Crossfire, Wednesday airing at 9 p.m. and the 1-0 Sports Show on Fridays at 11 a.m. Also, we invite you to follow our coverage on Instagram, X, TikTok, and YouTube as a handle TSTV Sports. Thank you to our analysis, everyone in Master Control, our executive producer Joseph Duffy, and all of our reporters in TSTV Sports. I'm Perla Paredes, and he's Zach Davis. Thank you again for watching, and have a good night.